welcome to the sub-grant agreement signing ceremony of the OECS OASYS project and with the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. So bienvenue, bienvenida, welcome, welcome, welcome to this significant occasion. This morning's commemorative signing marks a significant shift in justice, one from a punitive approach to a transformative one that emphasizes reintegration, rehabilitation, and diversion, and will mark a transformative approach in youth justice in the region. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Didicus Jules, Director General of the OECS, to deliver remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Usually people get away with saying adopting the protocol established. However, given the significance of this occasion, I just want to quickly go over, welcome the Acting Chief Justice, the Honorable Mario Michel, Master Tamara Foster, Mr. Green is not here, but I guess the office, in a sense, is present. Mr. Cuthbert Henry, Director of Probation, Mr. Jumaine Alexander, Mrs. Michelle John Thibbles, Chief Registrar, Mr. Greg Girard, Court Administrator, Mr. Litang, Deputy Court Administrator, Mr. Daniel Francis, Ms. Maloney, Miss Marcella St. Edward Preville, and our colleagues from the Commission. I can get away with this one. Head of Division, Cicera Simon, Chamberlain, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, so thank you very much for joining us at this very pivotal moment as we formalize the OASYS sub-grant agreement between the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court and the OECS Commission. Today, we're not merely signing an agreement. We are signaling our commitment to transformative justice that empowers, supports, and guides our youth towards brighter, more resilient futures. Our region, like many others, faces complex social and economic challenges. Many of our young people find themselves at the margins, often due to limited resources, challenging family environments, or conflicts with the law. For them, life is filled with crossroads and choices, some of which lead to unintended consequences. Traditional punitive measures have often left them marginalized without adequate support or hope for reintegration into society. And let me just add parenthetically, as a former PS education, and having participated in a recent major regional conference on education transformation in the Cayman, I can conclusively say that a lot of what we've seen in youth crime is not a problem of youth crime. It is an abject failure of our education systems. When we consider the family circumstances, the fact that our children are so categorized as academic failures, and then those who can't learn with their heads, we want to teach them to learn with their hands, we are creating that situation. So today, with this agreement, we are choosing a different path, one that prioritizes understanding, healing, and opportunity over punishment. Through this OASYS initiative funded by our steadfast partner, the USAID, we are embarking on a journey to reshape how we handle youth in conflict with the law. The OASYS project builds on the foundation, as you know, laid by the Juvenile Justice Reform Project, JJRP phases from 2012 to 2022, expanding on the lessons learned and focusing on delivering genuine avenues for diversion, rehabilitation, and reintegration for our young people ages 10 to 29. The value of this grant at $716,000 reflects a significant investment in the future of youth justice in our region. This work aligns directly with the commitments we have made under Article 23 of the revised Treaty of Basel, which entrusts us with promoting sustainable human and social development across the OECS. Specifically, this article calls for, and I quote, the enabling legislative, policy, and administrative environment needed to support social relations and cohesion for children, youth, men, and women in the Economic Union area, end of quote. It further emphasizes prioritizing, and again I quote, social integration, human security, social justice through multidisciplinary and holistic prevention and response policies to crime and violence. This framework is essential because it gives us not only the authority, but also the responsibility to implement robust solutions to pressing issues like youth justice reform, which are critical to the fabric of our society. In this light, today's signing goes beyond symbolic value. It is a tangible step towards achieving the goals of human security, social justice, and integration in the OECS. What are the core elements? The project aligns with Strategic Priority 5 of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Advancing Equity and Inclusion. Through this project, we are laying out key performance indicators that aim to reduce disparities in social outcomes and advance policies to support children and youth in conflict with the law. So there are three primary outcomes. The first is empowerment and rehabilitation, focusing on youth in conflict with the law with skills and opportunities they need to succeed. The second is family and community reintegration, an essential component to facilitate the successful reintegration of youth back into their families and communities. So family support and community engagement are seen as critical to the success of youth and the community at large. And the third is diversion from formal court systems. Not trying to put the judges out of business, but diversion from formal court systems through innovative approaches. The project aims to divert them from the traditional punitive court system by employing mediation and alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. So that will also help alleviate the preponderance burden that you face with the court loads. The project will span 2 years, during which the Supreme Court will implement various initiatives focus on mediation and diversion strategies. And some of the key activities: training mediators, so cohorts of mediators across the OECS, but specializing in family and criminal mediation. The legislative amendments and practice guidelines in partnership with our local institutions to draft the necessary amendments, practice guidelines, and directives that reflect a restorative approach to youth justice. Criminal mediation and alternative dispute options, so that it will offer the dignified alternative to incarceration. Through criminal mediation, we aim to provide youth with opportunities to resolve conflicts constructively, allowing them to avoid the often harsh and stigmatizing effects of the traditional criminal justice system. Lastly, the importance of data and evidence in shaping justice. At the OECS, we firmly believe that justice is not a static concept. It must evolve to reflect the changing needs of those it serves. As part of this initiative, we will leverage data-driven insights to assess the effectiveness of these reforms, ensuring that our approach remains relevant, adaptive, and impactful. We have at the OECS, with the support of UNICEF, something called the U Report, and we are offering to make this available to the court. It is a network. Sister, what are the numbers now? Over 6,000?
6,000.
Yeah, 6,000 what we call U reporters. These are young people who have this app on their phone, and they can do all kinds of surveys and reach anyone with a cell phone. So this has been a major tool for us in gathering data and insights, and even quizzing people about solutions that they would like to see put in place. This will be made available to the court. So as we consider the future of youth justice in the OECS, I call on everyone here, governments, community organizations, families, and our young people themselves to join us in this transformative journey. It is only through such collective commitment that we can create a nurturing environment where every young person has a chance to thrive, learn from their mistakes, and build a promising future. And sometimes we have to remember ourselves as youth, right? None of us here are without sin as youth. So a heartfelt thanks to our partners. Allow me to express profound gratitude to our development partner, USAID, whose support or whose unstinting support under the Caribbean Basin Initiative has been instrumental in bringing OASYS to life. The Caribbean Basin Security Initiative, through projects like Youth Resilience, Inclusion and Empowerment, and Carry Secure, is building critical capacities across OECS member states to combat illicit activities and enhance citizen security. We are deeply appreciative of USAID's commitment to fostering a safer, more equitable Caribbean. I also extend thanks to the focal point ministries of the OASYS project, particularly the Ministries of Youth, Social Transformation, and other agencies and departments devoted to youth justice. A special thank you to the permanent secretaries of these ministries, whose leadership is vital for implementing the national level components of OASYS. Finally, I recognize the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, an invaluable institution of the OECS, for its role in transforming our youth justice system and building the capacity of those involved in criminal and family mediation. As we sign this agreement, Mr. Chief Justice, let us remember that we are investing in more than just a project. We are investing in a vision of justice that prioritizes resilience, respect, and renewal. By shifting from punitive measures to restorative approaches, we empower our young people to grow, heal, and contribute positively to their societies. Thank you once again to all our partners and stakeholders. Together, let us continue this crucial work, advocating for justice systems that not only protect, but also uplift and inspire. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jules, for really capturing the significance of this morning's signing ceremony with everyone today. And you reminded us as well of the importance of a project like the OASYS project and having this transformative approach to justice and making that linkage with education. The Commission and the member states are doing a lot to transform education currently and have done so over the past few years. And you clearly made that linkage between rehabilitation, reintegration, and diversion, because if we're saying that as small island developing states, our people are a key human resource, then it's very good that we are not allowing any young people, any children to be thrown away for mistakes made caused by certain factors, that we're giving them a chance with this transformative approach. So I thank you, Dr. Jules, for your remarks, as well as the visionary leadership that you bring to the Commission. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to introduce His Lordship, the Honorable Mario Michel, Chief Justice of the ECSC, to present remarks as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director General of the Organization of East Caribbean States, Dr. Didicus Jules. Deputy Director, General Development Office of the United States Agency for International Development, Ms. Aurore Dorelien, and forgive me if I get the pronunciation wrong. Nobody assisted me with it. Chief Registrar of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Mrs. Michelle John Thibbles, and Court Administrator, Mr. Gregory Girard, members of the OASYS project team, staff of the OECS Commission and of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, all the other distinguished attendees, acknowledged by the Chairperson and by the Director General, other invited guests, members of the media, if present, ladies and gentlemen. You know, as I sat listening to Dr. Jules a while ago, I couldn't help but be taken back to the days when I was Minister for Education, Human Resource Development, Youth and Sports, and Dr. Jules was the Permanent Secretary. And every time I found myself in the unfortunate position of having to speak after him, I found that most of the major issues had already been covered. I anticipated that when I got the agenda yesterday, so I redid much of what I had planned to say in the expectation that Dr. Jules would do as he did, which is to comprehensively deal with the subject matter. So you will forgive me if I sort of personalize my remarks a little in order to avoid repeating what Dr. Jules, I know, would have said. Madam Chair, my involvement in activities for and by youth in St. Lucia and other member states of the OECS was extensive. From my participation in youth and student activities at the school and community levels in my teenage years, to my role in the establishment and leadership of the St. Lucia National Youth Council, and in the creation of a regional youth movement spanning Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean states, and then finally at the governmental level as a Minister of Youth over nearly a decade between May 1997 and December 2006. The objective and thrust of much of this involvement was towards the creation of, yes, opportunities to advance and support youth for success. I did not know then that it had an acronym, OASYS. But despite this level of involvement, and despite being a lawyer for most of that time, I cannot claim much involvement in organized activities towards juvenile justice reform. The emphasis then was to prevent youth from becoming engaged with the criminal justice system rather than to fashion programs for their treatment when they did become engaged. But I suppose that was when young people were more likely to be members of clubs rather than gangs, and when they were more likely to display extreme displeasure with each other, with choice words rather than with gunshots. But that was then. This is now. Young people are increasingly becoming engaged in the criminal justice system at the wrong end, facing arrest, charge, trial, conviction, and imprisonment, and even sometimes arrest, detention, and more detention, with or without charge, trial, or conviction. Yes, remand prisoners, as they are called, including some who get lost in the system and remain incarcerated for well over any time that they could have been imprisoned for if they had been convicted and sentenced. Mostly young men, their youth wasted in incarceration. How do we in the OECS address this crisis and arrest the damage to and virtual wastage of the lives of children and youth by the criminal justice system? Madam Chair, positioned where I am now in the justice system of the Eastern Caribbean, even if only in an acting capacity, at the apex of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, there is not much that can be done to address these crises without the intervention of agencies like USAID and the OECS Commission. The tight budget on which the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court runs and the limits to its ability to resource out-of-court programs do not permit us to do much more than administer the courts and dispense justice in accordance with the laws which are enacted and policed by others. So this sub-grant agreement, which we have entered into with the OECS for the introduction of criminal mediation in the court system and the full establishment of a family division of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, is more than welcome. All the more so because the special focus of the project is on children and youth in conflict with the law, with the aim of devising a more holistic and humanistic approach to addressing social issues manifested in increases in juvenile delinquency and criminality. In particular, the project will provide the wherewithal to enable the courts in the Eastern Caribbean to use counseling, mediation, and alternative sentencing mechanisms where appropriate in place of traditional court-imposed punishments. It will also enable family disputes which have not escalated to the level of serious criminality to be adjudicated in courts specially tailored to this purpose. Madam Chair, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court has seen notable success in its civil mediation program, and it is our hope that the project which we are signing into today will enable us to accelerate the introduction of criminal mediation in our court system. The criminal mediation program will primarily focus on a collaborative approach to criminal justice. It will seek to reduce the court's backlog of criminal cases particularly those involving minor crimes, actively explore alternative sentencing, and introduce diversionary measures for child and youth offenders. Through the implementation of criminal mediation, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court aspires to 1. Reduce court dockets by addressing minor offenses promptly, thereby alleviating the burden on court schedules and allowing for greater focus on more serious cases. 2. Engage alternative sentencing guidelines by supporting initiatives aimed at reducing prison overcrowding, particularly in relation to youth offenders who should not be placed alongside adult populations. And 3. Utilize criminal mediation as a diversionary measure by offering child and youth offenders reformative strategies without the lasting repercussions of a criminal record. If we can achieve these ambitious outcomes, at least in part, the project will contribute decisively to some necessary reforms in our criminal justice system. With respect to the family division, the court has seen the benefit of the establishment of the criminal division of the court in most of its member states, the establishment of the commercial division in some, and expects that the OASYS project will enable it to roll out the family division of the court in the 6 independent member states of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. The family division of the court is another facet of the court system which we hope will conduce to better interaction of children and young persons with the criminal justice system, because a significant portion of the matters expected to be handled by the family courts involve children and young persons. Madam Chair, I was informed that the implementation of this project, which was initially set for a 4-year duration, has now been reset for implementation in 2 years, without any material change in the components of the project to be implemented. It means, therefore, that we will have to hit the track running, and at Julian Alfred speed, no less, if we are to realize the full benefit of the project. It is our hope that the collaboration between the staff of the OECS Commission and our own staff at the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court will enable us to achieve the desired objective and win 200 meters silver, if not 100 meters gold, in the Olympic task that we will undertake under this project. So, Madam Chair, I want to reiterate that the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court is very pleased with this partnership with the OECS Commission written into the agreement which we are formally signing today, and eagerly looks forward to its implementation and its impact, particularly on the juvenile justice system in the Eastern Caribbean. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Lordship. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me. I think this needs to be collective. Please join me in thanking His Lordship, the Honorable Mary Michelle, Chief Justice, for those truly moving remarks. I dare say you certainly, it was very moving on a personal level to hear you speak of the impact, the different activities you participated in as a youth, how they shaped you, but also the linkage you made with justice, the judiciary, and the real impact to the court system that rehabilitation and reintegration will make. You know, this is so key here today to have stakeholders such as yourself present, and you've given us a clarion call, Your Lordship. So without further ado, we will put our skates on at the Commission. We look forward to continuing to work with the ECSC and to reach these deliverables that we've outlined here. But truly inspiring stuff, and I'm so happy that we could all be here this morning. So thank you again. And without further ado, moving right along, please join me in welcoming Ms. Aurora Dorelian, the Deputy Director, General Development Office at USAID. Thank you.
Good morning, or bonjour, since I believe last month or yesterday was the end of Caribbean Creole Heritage Month. I do want to adopt the protocol established, but at the same time, I do want to acknowledge and give special thanks to His Excellency Dr. Didicus Jules, Director General of the OECS Commission, His Lordship, the Honorable Justice Mario Michel, Chief Justice, Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Ms. Cicera Simone, Head, Human and Social Division, OECS Commission, also our OCS colleagues and everyone in this room. Good morning. Today, bonjour. Today marks a significant milestone in our collective pursuit of justice and community well-being in the Eastern Caribbean. The signing of this agreement to support the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court's criminal mediation program is a testament to our shared commitment to enhance the juvenile justice landscape in this region. As mentioned, this initiative is particularly critical to offer youth a fair chance, not a second chance, but really a fair chance. As Dr. Didicus Jules mentioned, it is a failure of our systems that these youth end up in this situation. So through this grant, USAID is really proud to partner with the OECS Commission and the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court to provide them alternative pathways. Together, we're not just reducing the case backlog, we're building a foundation for a more just society, one that values the rehabilitation of youth at the same time provides them with the support guidance that they need to be on the right path. Moving forward, I really want to encourage everyone in this room, stakeholders, judicial leaders, community organizations, and then also parents and community to really embrace this new program and partnership. Your engagement is crucial for the success of this program. By working together, we can create a culture of resolution and support, one that empowers youth rather than isolates them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doralian. And I really want to commend you and USAID. USAID is a much valued and appreciated partner of the OECS Commission. The OASYS project is actually a continuation of another project which was funded by our partner USAID, and that would have been the Juvenile Justice and Reform Project. And you know, projects, as you would all appreciate, they do have a lifespan, and the objectives they set out to achieve are often ambitious, but they have to be, because what we are seeking to do tends to be ambitious, because we're small island developing states, but we have very bright people and very dedicated people, and we're keen to get where we need to go as quickly as possible, but in the right way. And so after JJRP concluded, we saw a need to continue the important work. We saw that at the Commission, we saw that our member states saw that, and USAID, we very thankfully saw that too. And they came on board to fund the OASYS project. And here we are today, 2 years in, signing this agreement with the ECSC. And Ms. Doralian, as you spoke, you made reference to the importance of empowering youth and giving them a fair chance. And having been schooled by His Lordship, the Honorable Mario Michel, our Chief Justice, you know, Your Lordship, you spoke about when persons are there perhaps under remand or waiting for their matters to be called, they're there, these young people are there for many years. And so I am not a lawyer, but I'm thinking if justice is based on fairness and that it's better that it's innocent until proven guilty, then how wonderful that as we follow due process, which is very important, but for those who are young people who have all of this promise that are sometimes just waiting there on remand and creating that or contributing to that backlog in the system, how wonderful to give them this fair chance for diversion and rehabilitation whilst helping to move along the processing of cases and matters. So we thank you, Ms. Doralian, we thank USAID for continuing to be a partner and for being here today. So without delaying any further, I want to again entreat my delightful audience to let us thank and recognize all of our moving speakers here today. Dr. Didicus Jules, our Director General of the OECS, His Lordship, the Honorable Mario Michel, Chief Justice, and Ms. Aurore Doralian, the Deputy Director General Development Office, USAID. We thank you for your remarks this morning, for taking time out of your busy schedules, and we must call upon you one more time to sign the sub-grants agreement.
No?
It's a good.